Matt had to eat some lunch. And boom, we're recording. What is up, freaks? Welcome back to RHR. Big week, Matt. Big week. 200K by conference day. Are we going to make it?
Well, I don't know about that anymore, huh?
Hey,
I
happen.
yeah, it would be a really fun 2 weeks if that fucking happens, right?
That would be. Is Bitcoin 2021 pivoting to just a huge struggle session? All right, I know you're behind the scenes. Are they going to have like huge circular chairs where everybody can sit down and talk to each other?
I saw your tweet. Oh, what, you and Crypto Graffiti going back and forth on that?
Yeah. And by the way, freaks, I may sneak into this wave every once in a while. I made the mistake of wearing a green shirt with a green screen. So
I mean, I don't think Bitcoin Twitter is a global support group. It is a good way of putting it in general, but I mean, look at what happened. I mean, Bitcoin went down like 10K in like a matter of hours, and then went back up 10K, and it felt like we went from panic to FOMO like within 4 hours or 5 hours. Like, people have FOMO right now. I mean, I have FOMO the whole fucking time, but people have had FOMO right now like pretty hard, it seems. So I mean, even if we're at like a humble, 80K or like 90K by conference day, I think like vibes will be high.
yeah, I agree.
Especially if we win the Indy 500. If we win the Indy 500, card number 21, like, sky's the limit.
Sunday Memorial Day, put on the Indy 500 and the lacrosse. Actually, the Final Four will be over on Saturday, so there'll be lacrosse off day on Sunday. Good day to watch the Indy 500.
I will happily admit that I was wrong about 200K by conference day when conference day happens, but I want the record to show that Tina was being too bearish. I will not apologize for that.
Are we gonna force everybody to spot buy Bitcoin on stage this year?
I mean, we won't force everyone, but we'll peer pressure and encourage them to do it, of course.
Okay.
Freaks, we will be, I don't think we've announced it, but we're going to be doing live RHR at the conference on the second day. That's Saturday at noon during lunchtime. We have a 90-minute slot. And we got like a great fucking setup. So it's going to be really fucking fun. And we hope to see as many of you there as possible. I mean, I think it's going to be like 11,000 people there. So, I imagine we're going to have thousands of freaks in attendance, and I'm pretty excited for it.
Damn, pressure's on, Matt. Are we gonna have guests on stage? We're gonna go.
I like that we always do that for the conferences that we do.
I do too.
Like we'll have 2 or 3 guests on. I think 2 is the sweet spot. We'll probably do 2 guests. I guess BitBlock Boom. Yeah, we had 2 up there.
No, I think we went up to 3. We had
Justin, and we had Vanju came up, right?
Yeah. Pierre and Michael weren't there this year. That's right.
We had Justin and Vanju, right?
Yeah. Those 2.
Yeah, I like 2 as a target.
Yeah, I love the live shows. They're always fun.
So, freaks, if you show up, you might be one of the 2.
You never know. Before we jump into the list today, and before we jump into the dashboard, interviewed Bethany Hamilton, who's riding the wave behind me. You may see her on my shirt at some points of this episode. Did that yesterday, and her and her husband Adam really flipped the tables on me, where it was more them interviewing me about Bitcoin 101 stuff. And that's what I wanted to start this RHR with, is advice out there for any of the freaks of Bitcoin 101, because even myself, I struggle when I'm trying to break it down. My brain gets running. I run all over the place. My wife hates my Bitcoin 101 spiels whenever I give them in front of her. It makes her cringe. So I think
really
start like a little conversation here. What's your Bitcoin 101 pitch when it comes to like the network, the asset, and what it means for the world? How do you distill it? That's like, my wife's always yelling at me, like, you're getting too far into the weeds. You need to simplify it.
Yeah, I mean, don't get too far into the weeds, Marty.
It's hard not to, man. That's the thing, is like, do you need to get into the weeds to actually accurately explain Bitcoin? That's where I feel like why I get into the weeds.
I think it depends. It depends, who your target is, right? Like, you should know who your demo is, who you're talking to. And And I think for like a complete fresh coiner, someone that's, not aware of Bitcoin at all, you give them the high level pitch. It's freedom money that should increase in value over time. Our money is broken, and you should look into why our money is broken and consider this alternative. And then if they actually see this need and they see the desire, I think like the first thing people need is they need to actually be looking for an alternative, right? And once they see that desire, they know where the Bitcoin guys, they know the freaks are the Bitcoin guys, the Uncle Jims or whatever, and they'll find you. I mean, most of us won't shut up about it. So like they know where to find you when they finally decide they want it.
No, I agree. That was like one of the illuminating things of the discussion with Bethany and Adam yesterday. Is like, again, they're big members of the surfing community, but Bethany particularly really diving in, and it was just fascinating to see her as an individual questioning money in our monetary system for the first time over the last year, and just having all these questions. Like it seems it's one data point out of potential billions, but it's like one individual questioning what's going on with the money. I just thought that was very fascinating, and to see it from her perspective, I think people are starting to wake up. I mean, again, maybe it's just an anecdotal data point, but
I mean, she had that blog post, A Silver Lining.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really cool because, she starts with number go up. She starts with like the debasement of currency and needing a store of value somewhere where you can store your family's wealth so you can pass it down to the next generation without, dealing with all this financial chaos stuff. And then, so you think it's going to end there. And then she hits you with the freedom money next, right? With the whole Bitcoin beach aspect. And so it was really cool seeing like a new coiner hit both the things that I find super, the cool part of Bitcoin to me. Like, I think a lot of people miss one side or the other, and she came in on both. And then also, I mean, just on top of that, it must be weird being a new coiner that already has like a massive platform, right? She has over 1 million followers. She has this huge audience. And you could tell like in the post, she's like going down the Bitcoin rabbit hole, and she hit a point where she's like, fuck, I got to tell them about it, but she doesn't really know that much about it yet. Like for all of us on Bitcoin Twitter, we've been shit posting for years, refining everything and learning more about Bitcoin before we ever got any kind of real audience. We're just shit posting out to the, to nobody, just like screaming out into the void. And then she just comes out, right? And they just have this huge platform. So she has a whole different perspective.
Yeah. That's great. More and more people are coming. It's fascinating to see. It's crazy. It's happening. People are starting to question. And it was like funny what the Bitcoin 101 questions were. How does it actually work? The peer-to-peer network. Why does it have value? It's not physical. The energy consumption. I'm trying to think and just like explaining inflation. How do you succinctly explain inflation? We take it for granted, especially as somebody studied economics, been in finance, just been covering global macro and currency markets for over a decade, and these terms like inflation and just the concept of monetary policy and the monetary base, and being able to expand and contract that is foreign to most people. So having to distill that was a nice on the spot test to practice that. And my wife is still not happy with my Bitcoin 101 spiel. She yelled at me. We had a walk by the beach this morning, and we were re-listening to the podcast, game taping, and she was like, you still suck at this. So I'm trying, honey. I'm trying.
You got to keep it simple, Marty.
Yeah, keep it simple, stupid.
And so, like, also just come on, freaks. You don't have to, time is short. Like, you don't have to convince people that don't, you don't have to convince someone for the need for Bitcoin. They'll just come to that conclusion themselves. The money is fucking broken. Time is on our side. People will start to realize, about government overreach and, this inability to save money over time in an easy way. And when they do, they'll, we have to be ready for them. We have to have the tools and the resources and the education material and the friends and family who are ready and prepared to help them through that process. But the whole idea of trying to, and you see this a lot because the shitcoiners are really good at it. And the reason the shitcoiners are really good at it is because they just don't disclose any trade-offs, right? They just say you're going to make a ton of money. And it's going to be super easy. And there's just no trade-offs and no risks whatsoever. And this is like the best thing ever. And there's like a tendency with Bitcoiners, especially after last cycle, and then starting with this cycle again, seeing that shitcoiner mantra and how effective it is, especially with engagement wise, is to almost emulate the shitcoiners. And I think it's important, considering we have such a big platform in this industry, to push back on that idea. Like, I think it's very important that we disclose trade-offs, we keep everything as reasonable as possible. Bitcoin is bullish as fuck without lying to people. There's an ethical way you can do it.
Agreed. Is this shirt distracting you?
No, I kind of love that you just keep disappearing into the water.
I was going to say, should I go full DeRose and just take
in hindsight, Marty, like, you shouldn't wear a green shirt with the green screen behind it.
I'm learning that. On the go here. Well, Bitcoin 101, think about it. Simplify it. It's not always easy. Think about your audience and the assumptions they're coming to the table with, and think about your assumptions that you're making based on your previous knowledge. Let's get to Clark's dashboard. Big week. Under 40,000, currently sitting at $39,365 according to Clark's dashboard. Cuckbuck, it's going longer than it did last week. You're going to get 2,540 sats for one cuckbuck right now. Market cap is well below a trillion at 736.7 billion. Currently at block height 684,333. That is 89.12% of all Bitcoin that will ever be mined. Looking for Taproot activation. It has started epoch block signal. We're 655 blocks into this epoch. The trailing block signal of 1,167 blocks. We're currently tracking at 57.9% signaling for Taproot. I don't know if we have that on the list. Do we have that on the list? The pools that started signaling over the weekend. I
didn't put it on the list because I figured we would talk about it regardless.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
Just been like a reoccurring topic.
Yeah, the blocks are coming in pretty slow right now. 11 minutes, 39 seconds on average. We are 1,107 blocks away from the next difficulty adjustment, which is estimated currently to be May 28th, 2021, which is 8 days from now, so next Friday. And that would be a downward difficulty adjustment of 14.1%. Unspent Whirlpool capacity has gone up, 2,405.61 Bitcoin. It's gone up in sats, down in US dollar terms, currently sitting at $94.7 million. Anything else standing out to you? Should we start with Taproot?
Was that Whirlpool liquidity pool?
Yeah.
Well, how much did you say it was in Bitcoin?
2,400.
Very nice.
2,405.
Quietly just going up.
Yeah, it's like 100 Bitcoin bump over the week.
That 100K sat pool has just been fucking ripping.
Is this it's not dark side, because dark side, we're going to talk about that.
No, we would know if they go. I mean, they're being tracked. We would know if they go in. And also you'd see a massive liquidity bump. But I just want to say, like, if the freaks used the Samurai stack like 6 months ago and haven't used it since, it's gotten way more stable. It's a way better experience. So impressed by that.
Yes, I'm actually setting up a new Ronin Dojo node right now. I actually got the whole box. Zelko and like Woe sent me. I plugged it in. Like Woe, I'm sorry, I plugged it in. It's IBDing. I literally had no time to
just communicating to him through the podcast.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
So the Ronin Dojo guys will be presenting in the open source dome alongside a bunch of the other open source teams, a bunch of the other node teams. So that should be fun. The open source dome is like a conference within a conference. We have like 150 person capacity in this dome, and the lineup is fucking stacked. It's like absolutely crazy.
And Fuego. You teased it in the Citadel Dispatch Sphinx earlier this week, right?
I'm super excited. Yeah, I wasn't. I was like, don't share this, and I put it in the thing, but then I was talking to the the BTC Pay guys, in their on their, I think it's a Mattermost chat server, and I dropped it in there. I was like, don't share it, and Pavel reached out. He's like, Matt, this is a public channel, so. But yeah, it's out there if you look for it. But that'll be released soon. I think they released the full agenda for the main stage yesterday or 2 days ago. Pretty stacked agenda.
Yeah, that's what we have. Our RHR at 1:00 on Saturday.
No, noon.
Noon on Saturday. Good. It can't be noon because actually, and I'll be on the last panel at the conference with Steve Barber and Chase Lockmiller from.
What time is that?
I think it's at like 2:30, 3
on Saturday.
Yeah.
So okay, so we'll do RHR and then you'll do that.
Yeah, I'm not going to be getting too drunk on ours.
So we're good. Yeah, it's an earlier day one, so we'll do my trick, which is we'll drink beer.
Okay.
That's the responsible. It's the response. No one got drunk off a 6-pack. It's like it's basically impossible. So, I'm really excited for that. Marty, we have some person, freak in the chat that says, your shirt is horrible. So he just wants you to know that he doesn't like your shirt. If you want, I can just keep talking to the freaks if you want to run and change your shirt real quick.
Do you want me to just take it off?
Freak? I mean, it's up to you.
I'm not going to go full DeRose. I'm going to go get a new shirt. But I think while we're at that, there's a freak in the comments who has a good public service announcement for the Bitcoin 2021 around Wi-Fi. Maybe talk about best OPSEC practices with your technology.
Oh, good idea.
Yeah.
So we have Sam Bradbury in the comments that wants us to remind plebs to be wary of the Wi-Fi at the conference. The Bitcoin conference will be a hotspot for scammers trying to skim your data, logins, etc. Put your phone in a Faraday cage. Now, not bringing a phone is obviously the most secure situation there. There's a lot of thought being put into the Wi-Fi, and there will be extensive Wi-Fi throughout the premise for free, provided to all users. You're better off using cell data if you're going to use anything. But regardless, either way, you should be running a VPN on your phone. Consider molvad.net. I do like it the best. Consider Calyx OS for your phone, just in general, completely unrelated to the conference. But I think, conference things, it's a sensitive topic, right? You're going to have 12,000 people there. It's going to be a Bitcoin event. Don't put yourself in vulnerable situations. Don't travel with Bitcoin. By all means, bring some, spending cash on a mobile phone, on Moon Wallet or something, so that you can pay people in Bitcoin for different things around the event. But you shouldn't be traveling with your cold storage or any kind of significant amounts. Just in general, you just shouldn't be traveling with sensitive information. When you go through TSA or border, especially for the international freaks that'll be coming, you basically have no rights at that point, and they can just take anything you have on you and just try and get into it. So think about with your computer, think about your phones. And just in general, you definitely don't want to use an open Wi-Fi hotspot without a VPN. This is bad practice.
Yeah. Don't have your mobile wallets loaded when you're coming. Just assume like you're going to get hacked. Go to the conference assuming that you're going to be hacked. I think that's the best way to put it.
That's what I'm saying. Like if you have a million sats on a mobile wallet, so you can buy like swag and shit. Maybe like buy a beer for someone with Lightning. What's the worst that could happen? You lose the $400, and at this rate, it'll only be worth $200 by the conference day. So,
$20K by conference
day. Muggers throughout Miami disappointed by a recent Bitcoin crash.
Maybe it is good. Maybe it is good. And the price could dump even further. People won't want to mess with us because we're too poor. Yeah. Beware, freaks. Beware. I'm excited for it. Another question in the comments: is this going to be live streamed? I don't believe so. Is it?
So the main stage will be live streamed.
Okay.
I I'm pretty sure RHR will be filmed and posted to the Bitcoin Magazine's YouTube afterwards. All the other stage content will be filmed and posted to Bitcoin Magazine's YouTube afterwards, but only the main stage will be live streamed. So pretty much every talk that happens, except for the open source dome, will be available after the fact on Bitcoin Magazine's YouTube for free, which is dope. And to be quite honest, like when I go to these things, I miss the majority of the talks because I'm just, chilling with Bitcoiners outside, drinking beers. And this year it's going to be even worse because I've seen the full lineup. There's 3 stages plus the open source dome. Like there's going to be so much shit going on. Like it's almost impossible for you to, it is impossible for you to get everything. So yeah, it'll all be there after the fact.
Just make sure you make it to RHR. And if you want to come see the panel conference on energy that I'm going to be on, that would be dope too. Are you speaking on anything else outside of RHR?
And just to be clear, we're recording RHR, so it will go on our platforms. It'll go on our podcast feed, YouTube, whatnot as well.
Yes. Don't fret. 2 weeks from now, there will be no Thursday RHR. It's going to be Saturday.
Right. As we do with every live thing. I am besides the open source dome, I'm participating in 2 panels. One I'm moderating, which is on giving back to Bitcoin, open source contributors and development funding, which I'm really excited about. And then the other one, I'm a panelist, and that's on privacy, Bitcoin privacy.
Hell yeah. So that's our schedule at Bitcoin 2021. Very excited to get down there. I think the vibes are going to be high. There's so many satellite events too going on. Should be pretty dope. Dude, first topic on the list, finally getting to the list. 2 10K candles in one day. What's going on this week?
Cheers, freaks.
Is it
Bitcoin's
Elon?
growing up.
Is it Elon? Is it the 4chan theory that the CCP, the CRP, Chinese or the People's Republic of China, PRC, is trying to take down Justin Sun? Like what are we?
No way. Yeah, people posting 4chan like it's fucking source. People do this every bull run. We don't have to explain every dump. Dumps happen. People go over leveraged. We don't say stay humble for no reason. It's because very few stay humble, and we have these massive corrections that wipe people out and reinforce the stacker base and set us up for the next leg up, right? And you need it. It's like a way of cleaning house in a free market where you don't have circuit breakers, you don't have regulations limiting who can go 100x leverage. This is what happens, with a scarce asset going through an adoption phase. Like you're going to have, short-term large pumps, and you're going to have short-term large dumps, and it should net out up over time. And if anyone who's trying to explain what these different catalysts are for any specific dump or pump, you're really just wasting time when you should just be focusing on improving your Bitcoin knowledge and accumulating as much sats as possible.
Agreed. It's too monotonous to try to have a cause for every price move. Right. I think everybody's like Elon, and that 4chan thing came out. People are like, oh, People's Republic of China is trying to margin call Justin Sun because they hate him. I think that's an hilarious theory. I would love it to be true.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I think people like it, right? Because it's just be fucking hilarious. But two positive things since last cycle is I feel like new corners are coming in with such a better, foundation. Like we have so many new corners in the class of 2018, late 2017, 2019, 2020 that are just pure stackers. They're literally just out there stacking. They didn't even consider selling. They might've been scared, but they're just like, I'm going down with the ship. And I think that's a new thing that we didn't have last cycle really. So it's nice that stackers set the floor. Everything else is noise, but the stackers are just constantly on the floor and corner. And then the second thing that's funny is that I had 3 friends realize that Swan doesn't offer sells while the dump was happening.
Wait, I can't get rid of this. Let's
I wonder how many people that happened to.
That's another thing to bring up. Like, God, anytime there's price volatility, a lot of the exchanges in this space just shit the bed. So Coinbase, of course, did it again. Gemini, I heard. I heard Swan had some problems as well. The two that seemed to be dependable for people, disclaimer sponsor, Cash App was pretty dependable from what I could tell from Twitter, and River was the other one that was dependable as well.
Yeah, I tagged on Cash App. I tagged a low 32,000 hit
Dude,
with some couch spare change that I was able to drag up.
my wife, again, she's been out stacking me during these dips. She caught a 32 two guy. Lowest I got, I was too busy. It was like 36. That was on Cash App. And
Doesn't matter.
yeah.
I think River held up the best, is what
Yeah.
I heard.
Yeah, that's what I said. River
Yeah.
did.
And then Bisq, there was no dump on Bisq.
No.
The dump never happened. If you're just watching Bisq, it just never happened.
That's incredible. Another interesting tidbit from River, Alex Leishman likes to share the percentage of buys every given day, and during that dump day, it was 69.69%. So that's a numerology sign from the gods that we're going to be okay.
Too many bears over at River.
Yeah, close to 31%, 30.31% bears on that exchange. You gotta market to your client base, Alex.
I'm being told in the comments that I'm short Bitcoin for having a couch. You are correct.
The couch is just consolidated a bunch of chairs. What would you rather have, like 3 chairs or a couch? If you had to, what's more true?
I mean, a couch would have a lower future fee burden because of the transactions. Such a stupid joke. I have chairs and couches. I have a lot of things that aren't Bitcoin, and I'll own that.
I have a green screen.
I could be longer Bitcoin.
I could be as well. I have this wedding ring. It is gold.
I can't believe you sell the short Bitcoin. There you go.
Yeah, I'm short Bitcoin. Sorry, freaks. Sorry.
What was I going to say? I don't have it on the list, but this is actually the most fun story of the week. And I can't believe I don't have it on the list. BlockFi just randomly accidentally sending people 700 Bitcoin.
I can't believe you don't have it. I'm a little astonished right now. You didn't put that on the list. Thank God you brought it.
I forgot to put it on the list. Someone in the comments mentioned it.
Somebody got fired. God bless that person.
How do you trust a company? And I know I'm biased because I've just been shitting on them for a while, but how do you trust a company that lets that happen? Like, they do shotgun KYC on people. They require all this extra KYC. They say you can't use CoinJoin. You can't do all this stuff. They say it's all for your own safety. How does a check, how does an automated withdrawal process ever allow, more than a Bitcoin to go out or 5 Bitcoin to go out? Like, 5 Bitcoin's $250,000. If they let 100, 200, 300, 400 Bitcoin go out in a withdrawal, 700, as some people are saying, I'm not sure if 700 was credited to the account, but it wasn't actually withdrawn. But still, 100 Bitcoin, 200 Bitcoin, where are the access controls? How the fuck are they doing that?
I don't know. I don't have internal knowledge of their internal operations. That is a big mistake. So any of you freaks are like, what the hell are you two talking about? Apparently, BlockFi was attempting to pay out, I believe, interest rewards that are supposed to be paid out in this.
It was like a promo. It was like a ref promo.
Ref promo. Okay, so it was like ref promo payouts that they're supposed to do in a stable coin, and they accidentally sent instead of saying $700 worth of a stable coin, they sent out 700 Bitcoin to multiple. Not
how do you do that?
Between multiple customers. And going off Twitter, and
like, that's $35 million.
Yeah, people apparently like pulled some of the Bitcoin off the exchange once they noticed like they had been sent a considerable amount of Bitcoin, and then BlockFi had to email them and threaten them with lawsuits if they didn't send it back. So
they accidentally sent $35 million to some customers instead of $700.
Yeah, that's
and there's no, as far as I'm concerned, there's been no company announcement. It's just like tweets.
Yeah, it's bad luck. But
that's really bad.
There may be a freak listening who was part of that fuck up, and that's a bad one. You wipe the dust off. You walk into your next job, and you don't talk about that.
700 Bitcoin hit your BlockFi wallet. I'm not going to ask you why you have BlockFi, but they hit your BlockFi wallet. You click the withdrawal button, because that's what, if any good Bitcoiner, the second they see it, they hit the withdrawal button. It hits your cold card. what do you do next? Do you stay in the country or are you
I'm
just
in the
gone?
Caymans. I'm in the Caymans.
No more Tales from the Crypt? It's just
I will
over.
do it. I'll do my stuff from down there. Actually, maybe I'll get a seat in the Seychelles. Is that they got Arthur? Where would I have to go? Singapore? I have to go to Singapore.
We have Jay Lee in the comments who's like, all you have to do is coin join the Bitcoin and then they can't take it back.
That's a hack. That's a workaround there. Yeah.
So I was incorrect for the record. We have a ESI attorney on Twitter, big freak, dedicated freak, posted that BlockFi did make 19 hours ago from their official Twitter account. They made a statement about it. So that is good. At least I love the live corrections.
Thank you for the live corrections. Yeah, I love the interactive nature of the show, freaks. Hash rate, speaking of drops, yeah, I mean, before we move on, like to the individual, if you're listening to this, who made that mistake within BlockFi, I'm sure you had a rough week. I'm sure you got yelled at, potentially fired. Keep your head up, learn from the mistake, move on.
Go join Coinbase. Do it again.
The price is falling this week. Hash rate is as well. We had, I believe, like the second or third largest upward difficulty adjustment last week before we recorded. And since then, coalition of events have happened, particularly over in China. It seems that people are estimating that 20% of hash rate has fallen off the network as the miners in China make their great migration to the Sichuan province to take advantage of the cheap hydroelectric energy that is provided by the rainy season there. So you have that miners unplugging and physically moving their equipment across the country to play the electricity price arbitrage game. And then on top of that, when they're getting there, it seems the block reported this morning that when they're getting there, the county, one of the counties with hydroelectric energy, is actually capping the amount that each miner can consume due to a surge of demand, on that particular grid.
And according to the block, it's not Bitcoin miner specific, even though I guess a lot of the users there are Bitcoin miners, but it's just a general cap on electricity usage.
Yeah, of any consumer, but it's affecting Bitcoin miners, obviously, is there some of those consumers. And
I mean, it's also the price drop, right?
Yeah, I would imagine. That was actually another interesting thing that I found. This shocked me. I missed this when Coinmetrics did one of their state of the network analysis on April 28th. On April 28th, dissecting nonce data, which helps you sort of guess at what model miner is producing particular blocks. They estimated that 27.4% of the network hash rate, again, around April 28th, was being provided by S9s, which is pretty crazy. And they've been around since like 2015. The earliest batch of S9s were produced throughout 2016, I believe, before newer models came out. So that's 5-6 years of A6 hashing on the network and still making up more than a quarter of the total hash rate, at least a little less than a month ago.
I mean, the S9s was the best trade, right? Because at the halving, after like dirty March, like we had March 12th, 2020, price crashed. Everyone was like, the whole world is going to shit. We're all fucked. Bitcoin's not a safe haven. I mean, we weren't saying that, but a lot of people were saying that. And the halving happened at the same time. You could get the S9s. People were like paying you to take the S9s off of their hands. And then with the price increase and the chip shortage, they came back into profitability heavy. It was like, that was probably one of the single best trades you could have made in Bitcoin land.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, it's pretty lucrative to be able to sell some S9s right now, or even more lucrative a couple weeks ago.
You remember how cheap they were in like April of last year? It was crazy.
Sounds like $20.
Yeah, you get like a pickup truck full of them for like $100.
Yeah, and you can sell them. Some of them on secondary markets are going for like $950 to over $1,000.
Insane.
But now with the price drop in recent weeks, depending on the electricity costs that some of those operators running S9s have. Wouldn't surprise me if some of them have had to turn off their machines. So yeah, we've had
weekends.
we
Shame.
or people trying to run businesses, taking cash flow and expenses into consideration. So yeah, there's been an estimated latest I saw was 20% drop in hash rate. Combination of factors. Great migration in China. They're migrating, getting to places where they're capping the amount of electricity they can use, and then obviously with the price falling, some miners with relatively elevated electricity prices probably have to turn off.
Two things I would add. The first is, and we're about to get into this, Taproot activation is per difficulty adjustment period. So if we were going to see shenanigans with it, lowering the difficulty right before the adjustment of that period, there could be something there. Freaks should always be skeptical of the. No, freaks should be. If we have large difficulty,
I don't understand the mechanics though. I don't understand the mechanics of that. They trying to get miners that would signal off the network.
They would. I mean, that difficulty adjustment period will presumably go by quicker. I don't know but my point is that we should never just take things at face value when we get double-digit difficulty adjustments. Like I feel like it's being normalized. This idea that we're just gonna, see a block article and it's like, oh, the Chinese did this thing, and it's like 20% hash has been removed from the network. And I feel like a lot of people are getting really cocky about Taproot activation, and it's happening at the same time for me. And so I want people to be skeptical. I don't want people to freak out if games are played. That's all. And then the second thing I just wanted to say was to all everyone grandstanding on Twitter and my DMs and through my signal messages, my Keybase messages, everything, the mempool never cleared. Still has not cleared this year. Just keep that in mind.
Whoa.
It hasn't cleared.
I vividly remember 1 sat per byte transaction.
But not all the 1 sat per bytes cleared.
Was it cleared or what?
No, it never cleared. It never fully cleared.
I thought it was Catan getting his 1 sat per byte transactions.
Allegedly, he said he did, but he would have been better off sending a 1.1 sat per byte. Then it definitely would have cleared. Some 1 sat per bytes did not clear. So just get your facts straight on that one. These are up now.
Get your facts straight, freaks. Matt Odell's going to come after you. He's going to give you. Speaking of Taproot, should we just talk about Anthony Towns' blog post while we're on the subject?
Sure.
Yeah, so Anthony Towns, Bitcoin Core contributor, he has a blog. What's it called? Amarada, I believe, is his blog.
Erisian?
That's the Erisian is the website, erisian.com, ERISIAN. But the blog's name is In Amarata, INAMERRATA. And he basically lays out the trail, the lead up to the decision to run with speedy trial from his perspective and his thoughts on the user activated soft fork client that has been released by Luke Dasher, Shinobi, and a bunch of other people. And he articulated his thoughts about why he thinks it may be unnecessary and driven by a want for drama.
He came out swinging, kind of.
Yeah. I mean, I can see where he's coming from. Like, again, maybe I'm not being adversarial enough, but I don't think.
I really enjoyed that this was drama that I wasn't part of.
Right. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? Any more context to put on this?
No, I mean, everyone seems very. Marty, do you think that Taproot's going to be activated or locked in? It won't be. It doesn't get activated, but it'll be locked in next difficulty adjustment period.
No, not next one.
Because the engagement accounts on Twitter would have you believe
maybe one after
that 96% of all miners are signaling, and the threshold is 90%. So why won't it lock in, Marty?
Are they toggling? Well, that's another interesting thing. Now, so maybe that's something part of his blog that we can talk about. Is we're actually learning some interesting edge cases from this go around with speedy trial, particularly around BIP 8 and the version bit signaling. Apparently, some firmwares for particular ASICs don't have the ability to accurately or properly signal, and they've had to go in and mess with some firmware. Poolin, I think most publicly had that problem. That's why they were shifting back.
Allegedly.
I mean, I guess you can audit the firmware and prove that was.
I can't verify it.
I think there's people out there. Hey, who knows? Who knows? Actually, I spoke with Alejandro from Pool, and he's going to come on when Taproot does activate to talk about that.
If it never activates, we know he's been dodging us.
Alejandro, if it doesn't activate, you got some explaining to do. But it would act. So if it doesn't, no, Speedy Trial doesn't go through. This user activated soft fork client is out there, and it was like, what do you think?
Speedy Trial still has what, like 7 or 8 more, 9 more activation periods after this one?
I don't know the exact number.
It was 3 months. So no, I was completely off on that. That's 6 total, and we've already done 2. This will be the 3rd, so there'll be 3 more.
Yeah. Back to the drawing board after that. What'd you think of Anthony's comments about the alternative client, and like the fact that it forked out?
They weren't happy, like the powers that be, weren't happy about the last UASF either. Like there'll never be, by definition, it can't go through the regular channels. So while some of it I think is valid, there'll always be people that are complaining by whatever client gets sent out. But I said in the past that, I think Speedy Trial is cool because we'll do it and we'll see if we have to fight after. But if we don't have to fight, then you don't have to fight. But I think it's important that miners know that there's something out there. There's something waiting in the darkness if they don't get their shit together. It's a bad precedent to basically put all the power in miners' hands. I mean, you have 3 parties, right? You have the users, the miners, but the miners are users too, the miners and the devs. And in the Speedy Trial, it's kind of like devs push the code and then the miners activate it, right? And the users are in a softer check position, and they can only really have power if they're vocal and they have this threat of running a client if they want to change. If they don't want to change, then they don't even have to be vocal. They just don't update.
That's another thing.
They have a soft veto there. What?
What's the percentage of the network running version 0.21.1 right now?
See, that's impossible to verify, right? But I saw numbers coming out of Luke Dash Jr.'s node aggregation or whatever that was saying like 30% or something, right?
I thought it was less than that.
Oh, maybe it was less. But it's important to realize that there's no way for us to verify node count because you can just spin up a ton of nodes on AWS and shit. And this is why proof of work exists in the first place, because you need something that's verifiable, easily verifiable, to be based in some kind of reality, like some solid existence. It can't just be, there's no way for us to verify that you're actually a single user running a node.
Yeah, right. That's the whole argument, that there's like economic nodes that are making like large transactions. Like
but that's a soft argument. There's no way to verify that, right? It's like,
well, the only way to verify it is to send Bitcoin through a certain client,
like Coinbase or something.
Yeah. Be aware. Well, so continuing, we're wrapping up the Taproot conversation. I would go follow Andrew Chow on Twitter if you aren't already. achow101. He wrote a script, I believe, that's scraping data from mining pools to alert people when they start signaling immediately. And so over the weekend, when everybody was yelling at Elon Musk, myself included, everybody was focused on that. There was a number of pools that began signaling for the first time: Binance, Luxor, and a few others as well. I believe via BTC. So
or just go to taproot.watch and you can watch it yourself.
Yeah.
So Marty doesn't think it's going to activate next adjustment period. I bet Evan Clutis on Dispatch 500,000 sats that it won't activate. He thinks it will activate. And so just to be clear for the freaks, per Speedy Trial, if 90% of the blocks mined next difficulty period, which should be less than 2 weeks because difficulty adjustment is going to drop drastically, it seems, or not drastically, significantly.
14%, pretty big.
Yeah, that's pretty big. If 90% signal, then it locks in and then it activates like in November or something, right?
Yeah, like around November 12th, it blocks
just in time to decide whether or not me or Marty wins our bet.
There's a block that's estimated to be middle of November, 700 something thousand. I'm looking for it right now. I know Anthony had it in his blog. Let me Control F here. It's all F on this weird computer.
We have some person in the comments saying that I'm paying off the pools to win bets. That's not true, but don't take my word for it.
You can never know. You can never know. I mean, are the pools that cheap? Are they going to take less than 1.5 million sats so that you can win your bets? Is that your total bet amount on the?
I have 2.5 million sats.
2.5 million. All right.
I guess no. I have 1 million sats with you. I have 500,000 with Evan, and then McCormick. I have a like $180 bottle of scotch. So that one is at least priced in shitty money. That can't go up a substantial amount before Taproot gets activated. We have Jay Lee in the comments who reminded me that Evan first said he was willing to bet 200K sats, and I told him to put his balls on the table, and that's how he got to 500K sats.
Hey, Evan, way to put your balls on the table. I hope you're sunning those balls too to get that tee up. You know, it's a big movement. Are you sunning your balls, Matt?
No comment.
This is good news. We've been covering this as it's been ongoing. And we had a freak from the Netherlands tweeted us. Shout out to Boris. The Dutch bank, the central bank, which was attempting to force very stringent KYC, AML, and tracking requirements on exchanges. I believe they were going to attempt to make it so you couldn't send that personal storage too in the Netherlands. They lost their case against Bitonic, or Bitonic, I believe, sued them. And they're not going to be able to basically thrust those new regulations and data collection practices on the Dutch exchanges. So shout out to Bitonic for putting up a fight and taking it to the man and winning that.
So I mean, specifically, it was that users were required to prove they owned an address. And that was either by a signed message, which really is how it should be done, or by taking a screenshot of your wallet. And basically, it was moving the liability. There was no way that the exchange could actually prove that you actually owned it if you're just taking a screenshot. But at least as far as the law was concerned, every withdrawal address you send to is yours. So whatever happens to that Bitcoin is on you. And it's a clear step towards user control and, anti-privacy, right? So it's really good to see them fight back. And I think this should be a hopeful, inspirational tale for other businesses in the space, that you don't have to just, give lip service to these policies being horrible. Like, put up and hire a lawyer and fucking sue your central bank or your regulator, who's ever doing it.
We're going to audit the Fed. We're going to sue them so that we can audit them. Remember, Janet Yellen told you can't do it. Wouldn't be good. We should sue them. Let's sue the Fed. They're a private entity. Can you sue the government?
Yes.
You can. Maybe we should start suing the government.
They literally just did. Oh, you mean in the U.S.?
It's the Dutch
in the U.S., you can sue everyone.
Is the Dutch central bank private, though? Or all central banks?
The Dutch central bank was in charge of this regulation, which is weird to me, right? Like the Fed doesn't do any regulation here.
Yeah. Speaking of regulation, a good segue, Treasury. They're stepping in and trying to make it so any crypto transactions over $10,000 need to be reported to the IRS. There was some clarification from Niraj from Coin Center on Twitter right before we came to hit record, and what he said on the Treasury report, we need to see specifics for this proposed new 1099 form. Will it be too invasive? ? But as of now, this rule looks technology neutral. Crypto is the same as cash. That seems good. It also only applies to intermediaries, not P2P transactions. So that last caveat's pretty interesting. So if you're sending from a personal wallet to another
Yeah, I
person.
mean, Niraj, you're not making me feel any better.
Well, the P2P stuff makes me feel better because I'm thinking about like
I mean,
moving.
but this is what they say to us every time, right? The travel rule only applies. This is what we were hearing in December. The travel rule only applies from exchange to exchange, or exchange to user, or user to exchange, but not user to user. And it's like, okay. And like, what's the step after they do that? The next step is, okay, now we're going to make it user to user. It doesn't really, what he's saying is basically saying, don't worry, it'll be the same requirement that the Dutch just had struck down, and that's better. It's like, no.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You have to report it to the IRS. God, the IRS, man. The Treasury yelling. Can't get away from her. She haunted us as Fed secretary or Fed chairwoman.
I mean, you should assume all this shit is logged and stored and sent to every government agency. Like that should be what you're operating under.
Yes.
That assumption. You should be assuming that it's happening right now, but you should definitely be assuming that it'll happen in the future. And just remember that none of this data gets deleted. They're forced. The regulated companies are forced to keep it. So act accordingly.
For a certain amount of years, correct?
Yeah, I think it's like 7 years. Like it's a fucking eternity.
Yeah. Well, you buy Bitcoin 2013, Coinbase.
And at like year 6, they're going to be like, you got to keep it for another 7 years. Who knows? Assume that's going to happen too.
This is why the staying humble and stacking sats is the way to go. If you're hodling, you really should not have anything to worry about other than they know that you have Bitcoin. You can just be like, fuck you. Get away from me.
It's also important to realize that a lot of these types of stories happen around tax day. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, it's a good point as well. Do you think Janet has a vendetta because of Bitcoin sign guy? I mean, we talk about this all the time. Did he
like
get
if I was like Janet's like close like high school or college friend, like I would just troll her about it all the time.
You were saying audit. You were telling Congress that you can't audit the Fed, and somebody was holding up a buy Bitcoin sign behind you. The juxtaposition of that, Janet. You don't see the humor in it. You don't see the beauty in that.
She's doing like family Christmas photos, and her nephew's got a buy Bitcoin sign in the back.
That would be incredible. This was interesting. Tor. Can we trust Tor? He's drinking Corona Extra. Am I gonna have to get a Corona Extra up here, honey?
I don't know. Someone in the live chat asked, so I was trying not to. I was just giving them a signal.
Let me text my wife and tell her to bring me a Corona Extra. I'll join you. What's going on with Tor? What is this cross browser?
Oh, this one's not good. Doesn't
seem good at all. Like, what the hell's going on?
So like when you click a Zoom link, it opens up the little dialogue thing.
Mm-hmm.
It says, "Do you want to open Zoom?" And then you click "Open Zoom," and it opens the Zoom app.
Yes.
So this vulnerability uses that feature to try and open all different sorts of popular apps. So Spotify, Zoom, Telegram, all the different apps. And then it builds a profile on you based on which apps you have installed and what other information they can get. Like, so a lot of times, like when you're talking about fingerprinting a browser, like trying to figure out who is who, and you can see this in like analytics dashboards and stuff, they'll do like screen size and browser and which OS they're using. Are they using Windows? Are they using Mac? Are they using an iPhone? Like all these different little things, and combined together, they're making this user profile where they can track you. And with this, they add on top of that which apps you have installed. And it works across browsers inherently because you still have the same apps installed regardless of what browser you're using. And it even works across Tor browser or incognito or whatever you're using. And what's fucked up about the Tor browser is at least they have a demo on this site if you want to demo it out. If you use it on like a Chromium browser or Firefox or something, or probably even Safari, I haven't tested it out on Safari, it like pops up, the dialogues are popping up rapidly, so you can kind of see it, right? Like if you're paying attention, you like notice like, why is it trying to open all these different pop-up windows? But by default, Tor browser blocks those windows, it's supposed to be a safety feature. But so instead what's happening is with Tor browser, you're extra vulnerable because it can just be happening behind the scenes and you don't realize. Now, the one benefit you have is the Tor network is so fucking slow that it takes them about seven seconds per app on the Tor browser side. So you have to be like sitting on a malicious website for like a couple minutes for them to figure out all the apps you have on your computer.
Okay, so you go to a website, it's malicious, and it's just pinging your computer. Right? What fucking apps do you have? Let's build this profile.
Yeah, if you go to the thing and you do it, you like let it run for a minute, it'll just tell you all the apps that you have on your computer. And then uses that as a profile for you.
Yeah, so here's the conclusion, part of the conclusion of this fingerprintsjs.com blog post is until the vulnerability is fixed, the only way to have private browsing sessions not associated with your primary device is to use another device altogether. You just got to use separate devices for separate apps, it seems. We got to fix this at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I look, it was reported to the different browser teams. I think it'll get patched. For really sensitive stuff, you should be using Tails, which is, a Tor specific Linux distro that just runs off of a USB stick, and when you pull it, it wipes. You'll still have the user profile of a Tails user, which doesn't have the best anonymity set, but it for really sensitive stuff, that should be the way people go. And even better, you should use that on a dedicated machine that you don't use for other things. We have Zaya Zaza in the comments asking about like what that looks like for these apps. That you're correct. It'll show like the malicious actor would see like app not installed, app not installed, app not installed, denied, app installed, denied, app installed, or whatever. And that's how they can tell which apps there are. They're like just brute forcing that little
they have a list
action thing.
They have a list and they're just searching. Yeah. Be aware. I'm going to link to that. Make sure you check that out. It's the fingerprint.js or fingerprintjs.com link in the show notes. Yeah. Patch out there. Hopefully things get better. Be aware. Be aware while you're browsing the internet. Be aware. Chaos of Freenode. What's going on here? There's chaos all over the place this week. Freenode is the project that basically allows people to run IRC channels, which is where a lot of developers chat, particularly about Bitcoin Core. Is this something we should be worried about in terms of like a communications attack vector, Matt? I've never dove too deep into IRC.
Yeah, so they're saying that Freenode IRC channels should be considered compromised. All domains are now in the hands of a malicious actor. So if you're using a Freenode IRC channel, you should move to a new server.
Yeah, does this have something to do with that dude?
Or Matrix. Just move to Matrix. Matrix is dope.
Does that have something to do with like the private internet access guy?
Matrix almost has like a Slack-esque interface or a Discord-esque interface.
Yeah.
So it's like, to me, it's like IRC 2.0.
Yeah, but who's in the middle of this controversy? The dude from PIA?
Yeah, that's my basic understanding. I haven't really. The big thing for Bitcoiners is, the main Bitcoin discussion channels are all Freenode IRC.
Yeah. This is where you have the Bitcoin PR review club that John Newberry hosts, meets in IRC, the Bitcoin devs chat in IRC.
The Taproot activation channel.
And there's an OTC desk. There's like an infamous IRC OTC desk that's been around for a while. Where you can trade Bitcoin OTC with other people. Yeah, it doesn't seem great. So start seeking out alternatives. I wonder if any developers in the comments have any comments about this. Would be interesting to hear. On to more rosy stuff, good news. Libsec P256K1, which is a library that houses a lot of the cryptographic functions that go into Bitcoin Core. It's had a lot of work done to it over the years, particularly in the last couple of years. It's had a lot of upgrades, and the improvements that have been made have sped up Bitcoin Core validation by 7%, according to James O'Byrne on GitHub. He ran a test on his node, and it seems like validation has sped up significantly. 7% is a material gain, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, that seems pretty massive to me.
Yeah. So it's like, this is like one of the, it's not flashy. It's not talked about a lot. It's not anything that many people are aware of, but it's one of those sort of deep under the hood tools that has been worked on for years and trying to get better. It's trying to make these efficiency gains for people attempting to download and use Bitcoin Core, which is essential for the long-term resilience of the network, making it easier to run a node and do it in a way that doesn't use too much bandwidth and does it in a timely manner. So this is good to see. And this is the segues into something you didn't have on the list, which I thought you would, but thank God I saw it wasn't on the list. The team at BitMEX Research, particularly their grantee Calvin Kim, ran a test about blockchain validation, particularly IBD, Bitcoin's initial block download, using a U3XO client. And U3XO is something we've talked about in the past. It was brought into existence by Taj Drija, correct? I believe.
Yeah. I mean, I just said that really confidently. Sounds right. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. But I mean, this is like
if I recall correctly, the main trade-off is with U3XO is that you can validate the chain much quicker, the IBD, the initial block download, but it uses more bandwidth. So you save time, but it uses significantly more bandwidth.
Let me control.
Am I correct on that trade-off? And it's a soft fork in that if you don't do anything, you just won't even know that U3XO nodes exist. But if you run U3XO node, then you need other U3XO nodes to basically serve you the U3XO data.
Yeah. So it's a 36% improvement on IBD, which is material. It's 36% faster to download the blockchain initially, but you need 20% more bandwidth.
There you go.
Spare.
I don't know if like the IBD time is like
a big bottleneck.
Like the bandwidth is the bigger bottleneck to me.
Yeah, having people be able to download it with shitty internet connections.
So, yeah, I can do an IBD through Tor on a Raspberry 4 with Raspberry Blitz in like 3 days, 2 days. Like that's seems great. What do I need? But yeah, it's good to have options. It's good to see. I guess one of the things they were saying was phones. It could be useful for phones. Does the storage work? I guess you do the IBD and then you prune yourself.
Yeah.
So you could do that on phones, and maybe it makes a lot of sense for a mobile phone because a mobile phone, but mobile phones have massive bandwidth
limitations.
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't want to use heavier bandwidth on my phone.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me.
Well, we'll talk about it more next week when the freaks tell us why we should care more.
Yeah. If anybody's in the comments telling us why, let us know. Somebody's saying run non-core nodes.
Yeah, but this would still be core.
Yeah.
It'd be like core plus U3XO.
Yeah. So yeah, but I guess the news here is there's been tests run. It's something we've been talking about, something many Bitcoiners have been talking about. So it seems like somebody, at least Calvin Kim, is experimenting with this. Yeah, you do need to go prune yourself.
That's what I laughed at as I saw it in the chat.
I always know what you're laughing at, Matthew. I know how you think.
Yeah, okay.
We mentioned this earlier. Let's elaborate on it. DarkSide says that their servers and Bitcoin has been seized. DarkSide is the gray hat hacking group that attacked the Colonial Pipeline and other systems recently, and apparently everything's been seized and all the decryption, the information has been released publicly. So DarkSide's closed. What do you think? Was this a huge PSYOP false flag?
I still don't think it was a false flag. Like I said, I think our infrastructure is super vulnerable, Marty, and I'm surprised it doesn't happen more often. As far as the decryption keys go, they said they were going to release them. I don't know if they're actually releasing them. I don't know. I don't know if they've actually released them yet, but they said they intend to release decryption keys for even those people that haven't paid. My guess is that their servers weren't seized. They still have the Bitcoin, and it's just like they're boating accidenting it, and they're just going to come back as like the light side ransomware group or whatever. Let's just come back with a new name. They're like, the heat got too hot for them. So they left the fucking kitchen and they're just going to come back as a new organization. It's literally a boating accident. That's my take.
I'm reading the blog post right now. It's like, I don't know. Like, it seems like they were sloppy with how they had their infrastructure set up, and it was like too easy to take down their servers.
Well, I mean, they might have taken down the servers. Well, so the theory is that the Russian government was looking the other way, which that seems reasonable to me. They've done that in the past plenty of times.
Russians, like how?
No, you know, they're an online gang running out of Russia, similar to like what we had with BTCE. And like certain politicians were taking payoffs and stuff to look the other way because they weren't targeting Russians. They were targeting other countries, right? And the pressure got so much, there was so much geopolitical pressure that whoever was protecting them on the Russian side stopped protecting them. And because that protection was gone, that was what their servers were basically relying on. But that's different than the Bitcoin getting seized, right? Like if your public facing servers get taken down, your communication infrastructure gets taken down, that is way more vulnerable than cold storage keys. So that aspect, so their servers could have been taken down.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be a boating accident. It doesn't have to be mutually exclusive. It could be both of those things, and then they just come back as a different organization.
Yeah, right. That makes sense. Makes sense. Beware. There's more ransomware attacks too. I believe I saw one in Ireland. I forget exactly what type. I think it might have been a healthcare system there. There's rumors of other oil and gas companies in the southwest part of the U.S. getting ransomware as well. Yeah. Beware ransomware. It's a big attack vector. We need to secure these systems, particularly systems that have to do with critical infrastructure, like getting energy to the market and healthcare. It seemed pretty important to me.
Now, what I thought was really cool was Elliptic surveillance. The surveillance company Elliptic tracked the Bitcoin, and they said that they've discovered a wallet with $17.5 million worth of Bitcoin in it, 78.29 Bitcoin, which is important to realize is nearly 1/10 the amount that BlockFi allegedly accidentally sent to their user. So what was interesting there was they tried, they use it Elliptic uses that as like a publicity stunt to sell their, like $150,000 a year software, whatever it costs. That's closed source and no one, everyone that uses it has to sign an NDA. The guys over at oxt.me, Elliptic put too much detail into their post. They said, we tracked this many inputs of this amount or whatever. And then OXT found the cluster and they just put it up on the internet. Like these are the addresses that Elliptic is talking about. So we have the full address cluster of DarkSide on oxt.me.
Yeah. Over time, they added 341.412733342 Bitcoin to those wallets, but they've also removed the highest the balance ever was like 96.52. How does that work? Like, yeah. So they cycled through 341 Bitcoin right now. The cluster of wallets is holding 547 sats, basically the dust limit.
Wait, I thought did I read that wrong? What was the 78 Bitcoin?
What do you mean 78?
Elliptic has, you see I put the archive link?
Yeah.
Fuck these guys.
The archive link, I can't get past the ad that they have for.
Well, you can still see it, even though it's annoying though. I think they do that on purpose. Oh no, the 78.29 Bitcoin was just a single ransom by a chemical distribution company.
Brentag.
So I was wrong about that. So what did we say the total was that they found in here?
341 Bitcoin.
Okay. So about half what BlockFi sent out allegedly.
Just turning the knife, Matthew. Yeah, that's really cool. OXT.me. Let's give a shout out to them, to Laurent for putting that website together. Samurai team for running with it as well. I remember, again, I mentioned this many times in the past, but I remember back, gosh, be 3 or 4 years ago. It was me, Laurent, and Aaron Van Weerdum in like a random Slack group using oxt.me to track like the dust spamming attacks of like the summer of 2015, 2016. Really cool visualization tool. If you guys haven't checked it out, oxt.me. Argentina authorities force exchanges to provide data. More authoritarian creep. This is an article in Bitcoin Magazine. The government authorities in Argentina requiring cryptocurrency exchanges in the country to provide monthly data on users and transactions. So Argentina is one of those countries that has experienced multiple bouts of hyperinflation over the last couple of decades. They've issued a 100-year bond recently that I'm pretty sure they're already behind on.
Who the hell would buy a 100-year bond from them?
Idiots. Who would buy a 100-year bond in general? And guess what, freaks? Janet Yellen's floating like a 50-year bond in the U.S., which is, that's not a good sign.
Well, hopefully she's planning on buying Bitcoin with the proceeds.
We can only hope. That would be smart. Yeah, so any Argentinian freaks, be aware. I'm sure many of you are already buying in P2P exchanges, just because you get probably more accurate pricing, I would imagine, with the dark market for U.S. dollars. Is that correct?
Oh, I mean, I hope most Argentinians are no KYC only. Is that what you were saying?
Well, I imagine they use P2P because like the above board US dollar exchange rate is usually.
Yeah, they have US dollar limits, right? They're already playing games with how much money you can keep in a foreign bank account and stuff. I mean, I don't think anyone should use KYC exchanges, but especially not in Argentina. Like that country is known for its capital controls.
Yeah.
So yes. I assume the majority of its volume, yes, I would agree with you that the majority of its volume is P2P exchanges that have no KYC, and then as a result wouldn't fall under this reporting requirement anyway.
Yeah, but if you are still playing by the rules, you should be aware of this. I'm sorry.
Congratulations, you just played yourself. What?
Yeah, you just played yourself. My wife's not bringing me a Corona. She will when she gets back. She's at the store right now.
Oh, wow.
Thanks, honey.
True love.
Thanks, honey. Let's see if she gets back from the store before this wraps up. Not that we're close to wrapping up. We already talked about the Treasury. We're at software updates. Before we get to software
do shout outs.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Let's do shout outs. Our BTC Pay server is down right now. I'm working to get it back up. So I did some side shout outs off the BTC Pay server. Actually, one side shout out because I think the timing of this one particularly is important that we do it this week. So here we go. On behalf of the Minneapolis Bitcoiners, I would like to extend a sincere send-off shout out to Cam Strom as he's making the move to Austin, Texas to continue his work with Unchained Capital. Cam is one of the most principled Bitcoiners I know, and I think everyone up here in the Twin Cities would agree with me. We're lucky to have such a solid group up here, and Cam, along with the Coors Lights, will be missed. This is a shot across the bow. The Austin folks have made it clear they want Austin to be the epicenter for principled Bitcoiners, and Parker Lewis is on a warpath to make this happen. I say this tongue-in-cheek because I will also be making the move in the near future, but I want to make it clear that this has been noticed by the severely underrated Minnesota crew. Great American cities deserve and will require strong Bitcoiners in the coming decade. Let the competition commence. So congrats to Cam for the move to Austin. I had the pleasure of meeting Cam during my Austin trip last month. A stand-up gentleman, and I would co-sign the message that he's an extremely principled Bitcoiner that we're lucky to have working in the space, particularly at Unchained Capital. Disclaimer, Unchained is a sponsor of the podcast.
And we're like friends with like everyone over there. Yeah, I mean, shout out to the Twin Cities.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, shout out to, there's a lot of great freaks in Minnesota. Tyler, who created the intro that you hear before this episode, before we rip into the What Is Up Freaks. Brandon Quittem, of course.
Also known as Mushroom Guy.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, Bitcoin. Big fan of mycelium. Cam, obviously.
Not the wallet.
And I'm sure I'm missing a number of a very high quality Minnesotan Bitcoiner. Shout out to the Minnesota crew, Twin Cities. Never been to the land of 1,000 lakes. Maybe I should check it out one day. And I hope Minnesota is the land of 1,000 lakes, because it'd be embarrassing to get that wrong live on air. All right, that's from last week. We have two more shout outs here.
So that shout out was a side shout out. How does that work? Did you got a
DMs. I actually haven't sent the invoice yet. The person who's at it's Tyler's paying for it. I'm sorry if I'm doxing you, Tyler, but I trust him. It's a level of trust
very
here.
un-Bitcoiny.
I'm sorry. Well,
you might double spend us now.
It's going to be lightning. You can't double spend on lightning. Can you? No, you can't.
I mean, you don't. I didn't give him an invoice yet, Marty.
That's true.
Okay, well, we trust you, Tyler. Don't let us down.
To all the Bitcoiners that are butthurt about shitcoins, please shut the fuck up. It's becoming so fucking annoying. If you're furiously tweeting angry rants about why Bitcoin is better than a shitcoin, then you've already lost the plot. Bitcoin doesn't need to coddle and protect it like an overbearing mother. Doesn't need you to coddle it and protect it like an overbearing mother. If it did, it deserves to die. Many shitcoiners are future Bitcoiners, and many Bitcoiners are future shitcoiners. This is an open monetary competition. If you can't handle that, then sell your coins now, because you're going to fold when the real battle starts. Some kid may get inspired by a shitcoin and start hacking. They may have a new insight or idea that leads to a fundamental breakthrough in how these systems can be improved. Take a step back and see the bigger picture, which is simply that more and more people are getting excited and learning about how this technology works. If you think that's bad for Bitcoin, then you need to adjust your time preference. I would co-sign that message.
I 100% co-sign everything that guy said. Did it sign off by who said it?
No, completely anonymous.
I feel like I sent in the shout out. Maybe I sent it.
I agree. Like, hey, the shit coins, they're coming. They're never going to stop.
What I have a problem is I have a problem with shitcoin promoters that don't disclose trade-offs.
Yes.
So like when Gemini is tweeting out, buy Dogecoin, it's going to the moon, and they directly are making trading fees based on people going to their shitcoin exchange to buy Dogecoin, and those new coiners don't understand any of the trade-offs that are being made, don't have any idea what a node is or any of this shit, they can go fuck themselves.
Agreed.
But the actual users, they're the victims in that scenario.
Yeah.
And to be clear, I don't think shitcoins are a threat to Bitcoin. So I think they're specifically a threat to the users who choose to speculate on them and end up with less sats as a result.
Yes, I agree. We need to get mad at Elon. Hand up. I got a little mad online last weekend too. It wasn't because of Dogecoin. It was the energy stuff. Like, I don't care about Dogecoin. Like, please.
Wait, you were mad about the energy shit?
I mean, I just meant, like, I hate. Yeah. We got to follow up on that too, by the way. But yeah, the Dogecoin stuff. Like, I would love for Elon to sell his Bitcoin and go to Dogecoin if he's going to be playing these games. Like,
did you see he got salty at Sailor, and then Sailor ratioed him, and then he deleted his tweet?
Yeah. Okay. I mean.
And he didn't sell his Bitcoin. That's all, that's all
you
need
to
know.
He didn't sell his Bitcoin, but like also, Elon, you're drawing a bunch of undue attention to yourself. Now people are going to realize that Tesla is just a carbon credit scam. It's an accounting game. It's not really a profitable business. You're actually not running a green technology company, considering all the dirty hydrocarbons that go into making your stuff work, and the fact that people they're charging. I can just see full-time Bitcoin getting mad at me right now, but I'm sorry, bro. Like, he's going to be laid bare as a fraud. PayPal, it's coming out like the origin of PayPal. It was like he had a shitty payments fintech company that just got lucky and raised a bunch of money before the dot-com boom, and Peter Thiel had PayPal, very good technology but no money, and they merged, and Peter Thiel basically took over and just took Elon's money to blow PayPal up, and Elon was more of like a figurehead who ended up getting fired while on an international flight because he made a very poor technical business decision by trying to migrate to Microsoft off of Linux, and he got fired because of that, and he's emerged in this huge carbon credit scam business that is Tesla, which has never been profitable outside of Bitcoin sells. So
fuck you, Elon.
If you want the smoke, keep talking, bro. Keep talking. Last shout out of the week. Dear Elon Musk, you may not realize it, but Bitcoin was the first cryptocurrency in the space and will always be the first financial asset in human history to land and stay on the surface of the moon. The first human financial asset, money and commodity to moon will be Bitcoin. I know you had your hopes pinned on that pet shitcoin you like for this kind of mission, but Bitcoin is better. We have purchased a ride on the lunar rocket. Our seat on this rocket contains an SD card. On this SD card is a picture of the Bitcoin Genesis block. Within this picture, the Genesis block is a Bitcoin private key containing 10 million sats. No, you got it wrong. Dude said 0.1 Bitcoin or 1 million sats. It's 10 million sats. So I don't know if it's a million sats or 10 million sats. Either or. It's over a million sats. We know that. At least a million sats, excuse me. To be lucky, astronauts who eventually endeavored to recover this tiny hoard of digital latinum, we wish them Godspeed, good hunting, and good luck. Elon, have fun being second place. P.S. Bitcoin will beat you to Mars too. From 2140 Keys. Are we done talking about Elon forever? We just
yeah, I'm so sick of the topic. Yeah. But cheers, freak. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Work on your sats conversion.
Yeah. Yeah, please work on the site. If it's 0.1 Bitcoin, that's 10 million. 0.01, that's a million.
Me and FTB, you mentioned him earlier, full-time Bitcoin, our resident Tesla shill freak and friend. We have a 1 million sat bet that I say by 2030 we won't have a Bitcoin node, full node on Mars, and he says we will. Oh, and he's not allowed to run it himself because I'm not paying for his trip to Mars just so he could run the node by 2030. I was smart. Thought of that edge case.
There's no way there's a Bitcoin node on Mars by 2030.
Well, just reach out to FTB. I think he's.
How are you gonna get fucking internet on Mars by 2030?
We said we weren't going to mention him, but I think he's banking the whole bet on Elon. So,
hey, FTB, love you, brother. Disagree on Tesla. Very good taste in cigars. We'll say that.
I love FTB. He's a good dude.
Yeah. That was it for the shout outs, freaks. We love the shout outs. Thank you for contributing. You can do that at tftc.io/contribute if you want to buy a shout out. You can't do it right now because our node's I got to get figured out. But hopefully if you're listening to this the day after it's recorded, it'll be up by then. Beyond that, if you guys are listening live, please smash the thumbs up. The subscribe button goes a long way. Maybe even hit that like little notification bell for when we do go live in the future. If you're on Twitter, smash that retweet. If you're listening on a podcast app, think about giving us a rating or a review. We've been getting some 1-star reviews because of my rants, Matthew.
I just like the video. Is that like uncouth?
No,
from my personal account because I'm watching the live chat.
I liked it from the TFTC account too. I'm liking our own live stream.
We've been getting 1-stars because of your rants.
Somebody. I got called. This was a 3-star review. I got called unfunny, but it was even better than just unfunny. It was like,
well, don't give them a shout out.
Yeah.
Dispatch got a couple 1-stars. The Dispatch dedicated feed got a couple 1-stars because I say the word shitcoins too often. The shitcoiners found it and they got angry.
The shitcoin. Well, that's another thing. The shitcoin hordes going to take over Bitcoin 2021. That's a rumor going around.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
Look, it's like this idea that, well, first of all, there's a group that's trying to like a lot of side events. They're calling it like the Crypto Miami weekend or whatever. And like, to be absolutely clear, no one on the Bitcoin 2021 team has ever referred to it as the crypto weekend, and everyone pukes in their mouth when they hear it. Okay. It's Bitcoin week in Miami is what it fucking is.
I mean,
and then second of all, it's a big ass event that's going to compete with South by Southwest next year. There's going to be 12,000 people there. It's never going to be like a Bitcoin Twitter pure thing. Like if you want to do that, you go to BitBlock Boom, you go to Riga, there's events for that. Smaller, intimate, more pure events. This is a big showcase for Bitcoin. Outwardly promoting shitcoins is not permitted at the event. All talks are going to be purely Bitcoin focused. Sponsors that are like shitcoin exchanges and stuff that have shitcoins and stuff have all of their advertisements and stuff have to be focused on Bitcoin. It's a very important thing. And it's the only type of event where you're going to see, Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank moderating a panel with Bitcoin miners, like
Mr. Wonderful's going to be there.
He's going to be a moderator. He's not even going to be a panelist. Right. So like
moderating my panel.
No, there's a bunch of mining panels. And I'm sure his panel is going to be controversial because he talks about like, I'm not going to trigger you. He talks about like blood coins
Get me on that
versus.
panel. Get me on that panel.
Well, Marty, I don't have control over the agenda.
And now you
But
do. Get me on that panel. I want to
but I'm
talk.
saying like that. No matter what, that's like these are going to be cool conversations that you won't see other places, right? Like these are things like we don't have this type of event. Consensus fucking just announced. Did you see they announced Desk Coin? CoinDesk launched their own shit coin for Consensus.
Are you kidding me?
You know, like and the Bitcoin Magazine Twitter ratioed them, and they said Sats are their token. You know, so like we need there's nuance, guys. There's nuance. Be reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, if you're attending the Consensus virtual conference, I will be speaking on Monday. But it's to defend Bitcoin against the energy FUD. We're reframing FUD. We're reframing it. I'm not getting paid.
It's all virtual, right? It's not even in person.
Yeah, I'm gonna be sitting here. Should I wear this shirt?
Absolutely. If you ask me that question, I'll always say yes.
Okay. On to the software updates. Whirlpool CLI version 0.10.11 has been released, running Whirlpool, the CLI specifically. That is out. Running Dojo, we mentioned earlier, they came out with a new release, version 1.10.0. Sparrow Wallet version 1.4.1 has been released if you're running that. And I saw in No Bullshit Bitcoin, as we're recording, Phoenix Wallet version 1.4.12 was released, and that adds LNURL.
Oh, fuck yes.
It's pretty big. That's pretty big. So you can now pay compatible static invoices via Phoenix Wallet. The chess tournament, $100,000 worth of Bitcoin, and this is Coinbase running this, right? FTX, another exchange. FTX, Sam, getting all over the place.
Yeah, like you can take your wins where you get it, right? Like FTX, like they could have done this in Solana or whatever their shitcoin is, but instead they offered $100K worth of Bitcoin.
Yeah, are the chess guys jacked up for this? Do you think
this is like top tier chess too? It's like the top 10 in the world or something.
Is Magnus going to be? Yeah, Magnus Carlsen and Ian and Nepo Minakchati are taking part ahead of their €2 million game, 14-game world title. It's going to be streamed live.
I think so. I think this is a great use case. I mean, I like Bitcoin and gaming, especially global gaming. It's the ideal prize. Like you fucking just give them a Bitcoin address, you get paid out right away afterwards. We have Jay Lee in the comments saying that a lot of this, the content is focused on new coiners at the event. It's at the conference. It's important to realize that only the main stage agenda has been released. The second and third stages are like more in-depth focused. Specifically, the third stage is going to be way more technical. It's going to basically be the technical stage. And then we also have the open source dome that I'm running, which will basically, it's just all going to be open source developers. So there'll be a little bit of everything for everybody. And it'll be good.
Leaking. I didn't know Adrian Grenier was going to be there. My wife.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to be on a panel with Crypto Graffiti. Like, is he pure? Probably not, but like, it's kind of cool. The entourage dude is going to be fucking on stage, like at a Bitcoin conference.
I don't know. Have we ever talked about my Adrian Grenier experiences on this podcast?
No, hit us.
I've randomly walked into Adrian Grenier like 3 times in my life. First time was probably the most embarrassing. Firefly Festival 2013, just graduated college at Firefly with a group of my college friends, one of which worked for the marketing company behind Firefly. So we got VIP tickets and we were backstage, able to go to the VIP bars. And I'm waiting in line at one of the VIP bars for a drink. I'm just talking to a girl next to me, like, "Hey, this festival's awesome. I love it. What'd you think of Tom Petty last night? What about Red Hot Chili Peppers?" And so we're having a conversation. The line's like 6 people deep, and after like a minute or two, the 6 people in front of us happen to be together, and they all turn around, and she's part of this group. And so I'm here talking to the girl, and it's like 5 guys in the group in front of her. And they turn around. Now they're all in a circle, and it's Adrian Grenier. And he's holding 6 shots, and he hands one out to everybody sitting in a circle except for me. So like I'm sitting in this circle of Adrian Grenier and his friends, and he hands out all these shots, and they like cheers, and I'm just like sitting there randomly in the circle, like thanks for the shot. And
5 dudes, you and this chick. And
they
no
all
shot for Marty.
They all took shots. Uncle Marty got nothing. But like a weird look from Adrian Grenier, like, who the fuck are you talking to this chick in our group? I was like, I'm sorry, dude. Second time I saw him.
So then you got up, you said, have fun staying poor, and you walked away.
Yeah, well, I wasn't that confident yet. It was like yeah.
Pre-Bitcoin.
Early Bitcoin days. It was into Bitcoin, but not confident to tell people to have fun staying poor yet. Second story, I ran into him in New York. My wife worked at like Newhouse. I guess he was a member there. I walk in one day, I sit down, he sits down right next to me. I was like, what's up? Remember me from Firefly? And he said, no. So maybe Bitcoin 2021, Adrian.
Maybe he's a freak now.
Maybe he is a freak. I hope you're.
Maybe he never put 2 and 2 together, and he just put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite like celebrity encounter stories to tell. Adrian Grenier told me to fuck off and didn't give me a shot. Maybe we'll have a shot together at Bitcoin 2021. Can you make that happen, Matt?
Can't do that at consensus.
No, you can't. No, you cannot.
I'll try my best, Marty. I'll try my best. I'm not a god over here.
Okay, I don't know, Matt. You're being very humble right now. You're being very humble. This is actually something I had a little part being that I just read through it, gave some feedback, particularly on the mining with natural gas part. The Galaxy Digital team was Rachel Rizbarshik. I'm sorry if I butchered your last name, Rachel. Drew Armstrong and Amanda Fabiano. Shout out Drew and Amanda. I know for sure are freaks. I'm sure. And Rachel's incredibly wonderful woman in the space working on mining research specifically. They wrote a mining report basically trying to compare Bitcoin mining's energy consumption to gold and banking, and sort of saying, hey, like Bitcoin's totally worth it, and comparatively it actually doesn't consume nearly as much energy, and the energy it is consuming actually reduces waste significantly. So this is what we want to see. And again, went on that huge rant last week. I'm not going to repeat the rant, but I think we need to reframe this. We don't need to work within the framing of the narrative and the framing of the debate that the quote unquote hysterics have put in front of us. We should switch the framing. I tried to start doing that on Twitter this morning. Bitcoin is a boon to conservationism. All right, we're going to focus on the positives. It conserves wasted energy instead of setting stuff on fire and just wasting it. It's terrible. We're conserving it, and it's actually beautiful how Bitcoin conserves it too, because you
100%.
You use that energy, turn into electricity. That electricity runs through ASICs that produce hashes, that produce blocks, or allow miners to produce blocks, and they get rewarded in Bitcoin. So that energy that's being converted into electricity, that scarce physical good, it's being converted into Bitcoin. It gets memorialized into Bitcoin, into this digital asset, into perpetuity if Bitcoin survives, which is beautiful. You take this scarce energy resource, you turn it into electricity, and you memorialize it on the Bitcoin blockchain into perpetuity. So you're getting extreme value many times over for that energy. That's the framing we should work with. Bitcoin.
I co-sign that. I like that idea.
Bitcoin is a boon to conservationism.
Bitcoin is the Green New Deal.
It really is.
We've been saying that for fucking over a year now.
Years. Yeah.
Jay Lee wants to know in the comments, will the whole Great American Mining team be at the conference in Miami?
No, we are actually very busy building containers. So I think I'm the only one that's going to be there. We may have our CEO Todd show up too. But again, we are a good problem to have. We're very busy right now.
Well, Storms will be missed.
He will be. He is working diligently and very, very hard to build containers right now.
Well, the other thing I wanted to bring up was, did you see like all the articles that Bitcoin Twitter dug up from like the early days of the internet? They were like, buy a book on Amazon and you burn like 7 lumps of coal and kill a child or whatever.
Yeah. Right.
So like this stuff isn't new, right? And I don't think the internet proponents had to like fight a war over it. I think they just fucking went ahead and did it, and people like the internet, like, so that was kind of I think I was like, a lot of people misunderstood me last week. my argument is like, look, it's good if we have Galaxy Digital and these other, other people that are invested in the space provide reports and objective data. Objective data is always good. But from a personal point of view, like, life is short, and I just feel like you don't have to argue with these people. Like, we're just gonna win. There's nothing they can do about it. It's not. If you were arguing with them over Amazon's environmental usage in 1999, like, you wasted a lot of time doing that. That was unnecessary.
Yeah, I mean, Amazon did not. Well, that's the nuance here, right? The internet, social media, particularly, provide people with very loud soapboxes from which or they provide soapboxes from which people can be very loud. And you have somewhat radical, hysterical minority taking up a lot of mental bandwidth in the modern age due to these communication technologies that have proliferated throughout the internet. So change the framing, own the framing. We need to own it. We can't work within their framing, freaks. We own it. It's a boon to conservationism. That's what we're running with. So we're going to A/B test it starting now. Wharton, shout out to Penn, home city Ivy League, getting $5 million worth of Bitcoin.
Anonymously.
It's the largest. So they say it's the largest cryptocurrency gift in university history. So it means they've received others?
It means it's just a really stupid headline.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like it's they were going for like a bang, like I'm pretty sure if any college received $5 million worth of Bitcoin, it would be their largest Bitcoin donation they've ever received. Like, people don't receive Bitcoin donations really. And like, I saw some of the like aggregator accounts and stuff. They were like, largest donation ever made to Wharton. So they they switch it a tiny bit. It adds a nice little bullish spin.
Yeah. Well, shout out to Penn. Penn is actually when I went to DePaul University, we were on the quarter system, so we would go from like right after Labor Day up until Thanksgiving. Then we'd have off until the New Year, and so I'd be stuck in Philly between Thanksgiving and New Year's, and that like 3 weeks in December, where all my Penn friends were still in class and studying for finals. I'd come annoy them, hang out at Blarney, Smokey Joe's, and Copacabana. And Penn has a very special part in Uncle Marty's heart. Not that I ever went there, attended classes there, but I attended the bars around Penn quite frequently while in college. So
there you go, Marty, basically a Wharton grad.
Yeah, honorary. I know a lot of the class of 2013. I feel like I'm classmates with them to some extent.
You could put in your bio, attended Wharton, just like the grounds.
Yeah, I was walking around there a lot while I was in
college. We have two things in the comments. Someone mentioned the Pineapple Fund, which was like a big anonymous Bitcoin whale that was supposed to be donating to a bunch of like open source and privacy focused projects. Mm-hmm. It was a significant amount of Bitcoin. It's significantly more than this. I mean, this is what 100 Bitcoin, at last week's prices. Yeah. And Pineapple Fund was significantly more. I don't think it was ever verified if they actually paid out. Like, I don't know if that actually happened. Like, people gave them press for the announcement, and then I'm not sure if they actually gave donations.
I know we certainly did, because I remember talking about it. Yeah, I haven't heard anything since then, since we brought that up. So if anybody wants to do a follow-up on
5,000 Bitcoin, Braj is saying that Pineapple Fund dedicated to it. But I don't remember if they actually paid out.
I have no idea. Couldn't tell you. Sounds like blue shirts getting caught in the green screen. What the hell's going on here?
It's like greenish blue.
What else did while we're on the stuff, if anybody from my high school is listening, I tried to convince our financial board to invest in Bitcoin last July. Haven't heard anybody's.
It's a private school?
Yeah, haven't heard from anybody. Like, we have an endowment. We're actually, our endowment's like considerably smaller than our rival, which is actually embarrassing. Opportunities there. If anybody from my high school is listening, let's make it happen. I'm getting shoved at the door.
They're probably just going to put it all in some shit coin.
They're going to end up staking in the computer science lab or something like that. God damn it. Not last but not least, Chinese government and Apple servers. New York Times story in the technology center. The technology section. What's going on with Apple in China? I haven't read this yet. What?
FTB is catching up now, and you just posted in the comments. The Apple story is, Apple for Chinese citizens. They all their iCloud servers are in China, and technically they're owned by a Chinese government province or something. They're co-owned by a Chinese government province. So Apple gets to wash their hands of it and pretend that they're not providing government requests for data when really the government just owns the data, so they can just do whatever they want. So Apple's basically plays this whole privacy. They're the best privacy fighters ever, but in China, they just completely sold out any kind of ethics whatsoever to operate in that environment. So if you're a Chinese freak, don't use an iPhone and don't use a Google phone either, or a Huawei phone. You gotta work on it. I'm not gonna preach to you. I know you're living in an adversarial environment, so
yeah, they probably have some ideas. They probably have some ideas. While full Bitcoin or full-time Bitcoin still stuck in the past of this episode, like he's part of Tesla Q, right? That's what we consider him.
No, Tesla Q is the opposite. Tesla Q is anti-Tesla. You're part of Tesla Q.
I'm part of Tesla Q. All right. Gotta make sure. All right. We got some Tesla.
You're learning. I love it because he can't hear us talking now because he's still behind, but he's commenting in the thing. So we'll get to this later.
Tesla Q, we got to rebrand it to the Tesla. The Tesla advocates are now Tesla Q.
Well, so I was watching the world's most popular Bitcoin podcast this morning, Squawk Box, and on CNBC. And the big FUD on Tesla now is, I don't know, why are we talking about Tesla again? Is F-150, they're launching a green version of the F-150 or electric version of the F-150. I got to get my verbiage right. And the Bitcoiners will either not like it or like it. They're calling it the F-150 Lightning.
Ooh, don't like that.
And the talk of the town is that people are going to do that instead of a Tesla. So Ford versus Tesla.
It doesn't have the same ring to it as Ford versus Ferrari. Incredible.
Yeah, I was trying to go for that. It just did not sound nearly as good.
The Biden did like a whole PR stunt.
He drove the car.
I don't think have you seen the conspiracy theories about that?
He definitely drove the car.
Apparently he wasn't driving the car. I wouldn't let that dude drive a car.
There was a bunch of Secret Service guys that came out that were pissed about it because they were like, we didn't want him to drive the car, and he just got in the car and started driving it.
It was a wide open like tarmac.
Yeah.
It's very hard to fuck up there. So
anyway, I think a more interesting, we're at the back of the show. So this is where we talk about whatever topics we want to talk about. Did you see Dave Portnoy's overproduced shitcoin announcement?
With the hats?
With the hats? Yeah, he did he tweeted out, he was like, in 45 minutes, I'm going to announce my shitcoin. Yeah, like 45 minutes later, he did the announcement.
That's another thing I'm trying to get better at, not reply guying Dave Portnoy. We both replied guyed him. Yours was good. What did you say? It's like, this is sad.
Sad shit, Dave.
Yeah, sad shit, Dave.
Wasn't really a reply guy. I just watched the whole thing and I was like, sad shit, Dave. I was just like, I don't know. It's just word vomit mostly.
I came at him. I said, Dave Portnoy peaked. You can't be shilling Safe Moon. It's like you're clinging to the TikTok stars and Safe Moon.
Did you hear what he said in it? He was like, this might be a Ponzi, but for Ponzi's, the best thing to do is get on the ground floor, and we're on the ground floor.
Well, that's what you got to love about Dave Portnoy. He's very upfront with the trade-offs. Would you agree with that? There's many things I love about Dave. Dave, I don't think you peaked. I was fucking with you. But please find your treasure.
I think he might have.
I hope he did. You think he might have peaked or found his treasure?
Oh, I don't give a shit about his treasure. I was frustrated by the shitcoin announcement.
Yeah.
It is hilarious that the whole market just like completely imploded itself the next day. But at least I have very low expectations for him. So
it comes
I appreciated that he just like said it straight up that, it's probably a Ponzi, and he's like, we haven't mentioned the name of the token and I don't plan on it. But he's like, I have no idea why I'm buying this. It's just I like the name.
Yeah.
It seems like it has Ponzi economics attached to it or whatever. He just like straight up said it. So,
this is part of the Barstool model. You got to lean into content when topics are hot. Shitcoin's hot, obviously. I mean, I literally experienced it myself, having worked there during the last shitcoin run. Caleb, if you're watching this, Asscoin, I told you to dump it like literally at the high. You're still holding on to that ass. Beware, freaks. I did throw something on, two things on the list that I did throw on towards the end. Where, I mean, again, follow up on last week's rant. I mentioned the fact that, again, it takes a lot of hydrocarbons to make these solar panels and wind turbines specifically that typically get made in China, where they don't care about emissions at all. And they spin up coal plants literally every other day. I think they spun up like 230 in the last year. A great article came out, a Substack, the Substack newsletter by Michael Schellenberger, basically explaining that solar has become cheaper because it's being completely subsidized by the People's Republic of China in slave labor. And they're using massive amounts of coal to get everything to the price that they need to be to sell back to the West. So we're decommissioning nuclear and natural gas power plants over here to shift them for solar and wind. We're just shifting jobs to China, where they're using a shit ton of coal to make inefficient solar. And Michael also goes into the fact that people have been opining for literally almost 2 decades now that it's going to get much more efficient because they're able to automate the process of constructing the solar panels. But it turns out that's not possible because of how delicate the materials are. So China is depending on slave labor, literally slaves' hands to build these solar panels. So think about that. Not going to rant any more on that. We will link that in the show notes. And last but not least, I just wanted to bring up BIP 118 sig hash _ any prev out, because I think it's cool and it could enable cool things like L2 and space chains that would allow for really cool things for Bitcoin, making it more scalable, more robust, more resilient, and more secure at the Lightning Network level. And then it would enable other second layer solutions like space chains, which would be a one-way pegged side chain that doesn't have a native token or anything like that, which I think is cool.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit on Dispatch this week. We had Fiat Jaff on, who I think that is it. I mean, I know it's his first English language podcast he's ever been on, so it's quite an honor. But I'm a little bit confused by it. I'm, whatever. There's plenty of time to talk about it. I think it's good that there's open discussion. Pretty sure there's no proposed implementation yet.
No code written. It's just a BIP.
Okay. And it requires Taproot. So I love the enthusiasm, and I think people should have open discussion. And the more discussion over this stuff, the better. The sooner we'll get, improvements that we want. But I don't know. I
just want discussion. I want to understand the trade-offs.
Yeah, but there's some class of 2017ers that I love.
Name them.
You're getting like our boy Ben the Carmen. He's getting a little bit too far ahead of himself.
Ooh.
Okay, dude. Wow. Like, we need Taproot first. We don't have Taproot. There's no code written for any prev out, and he's just like, oh, we got it. We're on to the next.
Hey,
we got to nail it down. You can't be 90% on one thing and then move to the next. We got to finish it.
He's young, hungry, and horny, man. He's gonna go after it. You can't knock him for that.
We got to finish what we started. You can't. There's no halvesies in Bitcoin.
I agree with that. Diligence, taking your time, weighing the trade-offs, testing the code, reviewing the code, all important. But again, these young devs, Ben Kaufmans, the Ben Carmans, the Bens of the world, Andrew Chow's. Andrew Chow's probably a little bit more conservative, but young and horny, ready to get after it, get stuff into Bitcoin. I remember being that age. Do you remember being that age, Matthew?
Yo, fucking SegWit broke me. You can tell who was pre and who was post by who is just assuming that we have Taproot right now.
Right. Yeah. Don't assume it. Don't take anything for granted. Weird things can happen. I mean, we've talked about how F2 pool fucked with it, SegWit particularly in the future. But that's the other. I mean, we discussed this. There's no futures token for like a Taproot coin. So there's
But maybe there should be.
Well,
I mean, look, we've heard all about DLCs, and like I haven't built shit. I'm aware, but like, why can't I bet on whether? Why do I have to do a bet? You know, a verbal bet on Telegram. I mean, on air over this stuff. Why isn't there a liquid betting market on when this gets activated? If there was a liquid betting market that said, 10,000 Bitcoin thinks Taproot is going to be locked in by 2 difficulty periods from now, then that would be like something that I would objectively think shows that it's likely that it'll happen, right?
Going to start some controversy here. We should be pushing for BIP 300 drive chains. You could make one of those prediction markets on a drive chain.
But there's like some minor trust there or something. That's a soft fork too, right?
Yes, I believe so. Paul Stork has been making a push.
There's some issues with it though, isn't there?
There's discussion around the miner, like the miner incentives are the ability for miners to steal the Bitcoin locked up in the drive chain. Paul will argue that the incentives are such that they wouldn't do it.
But maybe the incentives get fucked up if you're specifically betting on something that is miner driven, which is Taproot signaling.
Potentially, I don't know. I'm not too.
We just need like a centralized website run by some NIM that just has like a yes, no, how many days it's going to be or whatever. You don't have to overthink it. I'm surprised there isn't one.
It would be like many DLCs, right?
But you don't even need to do DLCs. Like there's no like DLCs would be great trust wise, but if they're not there yet, which is fine, then like look at FTX, right? FTX added the election markets. It was just a centralized exchange. Now that kind of sucked because it requires KYC for larger accounts, and they were actively IP blocking people from the United States, North Korea, and a couple other authoritarian regimes. But that's the idea, right? If you do it as a NIM, maybe as an onion service, you calculated risk, launch it from the Seychelles.
Hey,
there'd be a lot of money to be made on that. Being able to bet on that kind of thing.
Did not save one of the best men in the industry. All right, be careful.
But it was only after they did like trillions of dollars worth of volume that they got hit.
Did they do trillions over time?
I mean, what was the volume on BitMEX yesterday was like 100 billion or something ridiculous.
Really? Damn.
It's because it's all like it's all derivatives, so it's like bullshit, right?
Yeah.
They do like significantly more than the Bitcoin that exists. Let me pull up the actual amount because
while you're pulling that up, I just want to send a message out to Justin Sun. Yo, they're trying to liquidate you, bro. That's why the price is down here. Keep your head on.
Yeah. So they did 7 billion yesterday. We're 7 billion USD worth of volume yesterday.
100 billion sounded a little high.
But that's even after KYC was added, right? Yeah. They're still doing 7 billion daily volume.
What had more volume?
The next biggest one is Binance's derivative product, and they only did $1.2 million worth of. Oh, you know what that is? That's 7 billion Bitcoin worth of volume.
Oh no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, according to CryptoWatch.
7 billion.
Yeah, because the next biggest one is Binance, which is 1.2 million Bitcoin worth of volume.
How many people are trading on 100x over at BitMEX?
That's why it's not, obviously there's not 7 billion Bitcoin to trade.
Yeah, it's people levering up. Degenerates. That's people getting margin called.
The magnitude there is that's crazy. And then BISC yesterday traded a half a Bitcoin on the US dollar.
What had more volume? The double 10K candle day this week or March 12th last year, whatever that doomsday.
I think they were saying it was similar, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I didn't look into that particular data point. I'd be interested to see. Are we in a new regime? Is the institutional money sloshing around, trying to shake out the humble sat stackers? Is this where we are? The Bitcoin game is really simple, freaks. Don't worry about these price swings. Don't worry about the shitcoin noise. Don't worry about the Elon Musk of the world. The game is very simple. Accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible. You can distill to that. Zone out everything. Focus in on the prize. Just accumulate as much as possible. This is not investment. It is investment advice. You know what? Are we going to kid ourselves here?
We've been literally, yeah. I mean, it's investment advice for something that's not a security.
Yeah, it's life advice. Let's say life advice. Freedom in the digital age, freaks.
Stay humble, stack sats.
Peace and love.